It is Thursday and it's live Q&A. Alright, so I hope you submitted your questions. If not, if you forgot about that, you're welcome to do it for next week because it's Thursday. Alright, so I have a few questions. And so one question is I receive, it was, what is that you do when people in your life pushing your boundaries and they just keep on bothering you? You know, especially those that you don't want to see or hang out with them. And, you know, at the same time, you don't really know how to not hurt their feelings. And so how is that you deal with that? Boundaries are very difficult to implement, but it's really worth doing that. And I read that as soon as you start implementing boundaries, people actually respect you more. And so imagine that you have a family member or a very close friend that you don't want to kind of let go of, but they're very like toxic, narcissistic, or especially if it's a family member that you experience childhood trauma from and you feel resentment. First, just acknowledge every single day what are the things and how you deal with them, how much interaction you have, and you know, what are their needs. Even better if you have like a little diary and then you see who called who and what did you talk about and how long did you do it, or what did they ask, how they reacted, so you kind of can see the patterns, what's really happening with this relationship. Then step 2, you have to get some space. So if you have a conversation going on with them on the phone, you just cut it shorter. If they ask you and invite you somewhere to go and you don't want to go, you just tell them that you have other plans. And everything is really with the practice. So as soon as you start saying no, then they will hear that no and they will honor that. So that's very, the second question that I received was that someone is feeling guilty of saying no to people that especially they care about, their family members, but they really don't feel like saying no because then they feel guilty about that and feel like they bad people. So it's like 2 points. This question of I have difficulty of saying no, and when I say no to somebody about something, I feel guilty about it. Those are like 2 parts. The first part is it's very good that you're starting saying no, and because you have not said enough times, you're not used to that, and you're afraid to actually set the boundaries. So you need to really practice that more. And now the second part is what I want to talk about. It's you feeling guilty about that. It's really comes from your childhood when you didn't realize what's the difference between bad behavior per se and a bad person. So you grow up in the environment where you were abused somehow, physically or emotionally or both, and you really get that nurturing that it will give you and instill being proud of yourself or trusting yourself. And usually it's an environment happens when, let's say, you do something like let's say there is a jar full of cookies, and you ask your parent or somebody in your house and you say, I would like a cookie, and they say, well, no, not, you don't deserve a cookie or whatever, and then you still really want it, and you're like 3 years old, and then so you reach out and still get it, and then you get shouted at, slapped on, and something that's very abusive of what's wrong with you, I told you no, bad girl, how could you do this? And so basically you realize that, that attention, that negative attention was given not to the behavior that you did, but to you as a person. So then the more of this you get in your life, in your in childhood environment, the more you kind of build the belief that you as a person is a bad one. So then that's where the people pleasing is being born, that you think you have to please others and you have to get validation from them. You want to tell them that, no, I'm a good person, love me, I'm good, like you're trying to improve yourself all the time. You're trying to get validation from people who actually will never see validation. So what is that to do about that? You start really paying attention, and again, I like journaling things, so you could see where your patterns are. So when you think about that, oh, that makes me feel guilty of doing something, such as in this question, well, I said no to somebody and I feel guilty about that. So when you're feeling guilty, you need to ask yourself, where is that really coming from? Where is that feeling coming from the original wound, obviously, that happened a long time ago? And I invite you to just sit and think about it. Where is that coming from? Let's just go back all in time and then get deep down in that feeling and that emotion. It's probably going to feel very negative and very painful, but just kind of sit with that and just see it from your adult point of view into what happened to you in the childhood. And you're probably going to feel very teary and anxious and stressed out, and you may be feeling like you want to cry, and it's very good, not because that, well, yeah, you need to suffer, but get that out. Because when you allowing yourself to be with your emotions, you're honoring yourself and you're not abandoning yourself. Because when you're growing up, and those people who, like your parents or your caregivers, that they need to be there for you and they need to be there and support you as a person, as your emotions, and say, yes, you're doing a good job, yes, you need to trust yourself. You don't get that. You learn that, well, you're just not kind of the person that also always need to like look for the validation. And then you're feeling guilty of anything that you do because you don't trust yourself. So be by your side. Don't abandon yourself now. That's very, very important. So be with your emotions, no matter they're good or bad or whatever that is. And don't feel guilty when you say no to somebody or a project or anything like that. Don't feel guilty even if you're feeling bad or angry. Just say, okay, well, I'm feeling angry now. I'm feeling pissed off. Now I'm just really I'm feeling guilty. It's fine. It is fine if you feel that way, because honoring your emotions, that's the number one way how you can heal your inner child and your deep childhood traumas. So then I have another question. So there is a person who is when she's feeling stressed, she is start putting guilt on other people, and then when she comes out of that, then she feels very guilty that happened. So she feels that, well, she kind of said some things and behaved towards others that she shouldn't have done it. So, well, how is that to do it? Again, you have to be honoring yourself. So when you're stressed out and you think that you want to lash out at the people, then it's really good that you will have like this stress management toolkit that you can just go on and do it. And I talked about that in the other weeks of the live Q&A, where you basically breathe in, breathe out, touch yourself physically, like comfort your body and say your affirmations, and that just kind of to calm you down. A lot of times we feel stressed out or angry because we feel totally out of control. So when we feel out of control, that looks like the end of the world, because we would like to control the situation. So when you get into in that kind of situation that you instead of lashing out on others and making them change something, really look at the situation and think, okay, how important that is. Because a lot of times there are many things in our lives that are not really important, but we think that they're very important. So just ask yourself a question. Well, whatever has happened now, is it, life-changing? If I'm not going to get this now, or this is not going to happen, or this has happened, how is that going to influence me in 5 years or even a year? And that, if that does not make any difference in your life, so just like totally forget it, because it's not even worth your time and your energy. Many things also that happens in our lives, we make this kind of labeling of thinking, oh, this is just so bad. But I read this amazing book that they were showing how the stress actually could be good for you, or in other ways, that not all stress that you're encountering actually is bad for you, and you can change that just by putting a different kind of label. And I liked this, there was like full book of, maybe I'm gonna leave a link for you guys to read this book if you're interested. It was amazing that there were 2 hotels, and in one hotel in the employee area where all maids were hanging out, they posted a post poster where it says, you as a maid walk 3 miles a day, and that burns so many calories, and this is so good for your heart, and when you change so many sheets, you know, you're lifting weights, so you're building muscle. And there was all of this thing written how your place where you work actually is contributing towards your health and you in a better health at the end of it. And then the second hotel was the group actually had the total opposite. So the poster was saying, well, because you're walking that much, that's very hard on your knees, your joints are suffering, and pretty much was the whole write-up of how bad it is that you're working here, and you're gonna age and you're gonna get sick and die, you know, kind of thing. And so it was surprising to me that both of those groups were getting totally different messages. There was nobody actually were telling them that. That was just some poster on the wall that they would just kind of constantly see on the lunch hour. And so what does that show? That, you know, both of those groups were getting a message that actually were influencing them without actually doing anything physically differently. None of them were changing their nutrition. None of them were changing healthy habits. None of that. They did exactly the same life as they were doing. Nothing changed. But those posters, they were influencing them. That actually, after some time, the first group that was saying, oh, you know, your work is actually helping your health, they got healthier. And the group that was continuously kind of brainwashed and saying, you know, this is so bad for you, they actually got worse. So what does that says is how you label the situation. And if you think that something is working for you, it's serving you, it's gonna serve you. You know, like the belief that heal you will heal you. I also loved another story about the doctors that they were dealing with the terminal cancer patients. And so instead of for them coming into a group and start saying, oh, look, you know, this is so depressing, I lost 2 patients today, and another one will start saying, this is my patient is so sick, another one will give an advice how to save that patient, and it will be all of this very depressing, negative, you know, like energy draining conversations where it looks from the other side that, wow, this is really good because they're talking about that, you know, they're getting the feelings out, right? Getting the feelings out. But then they changed the situation and said, you know what, we're not going to talk about this, because when they left all the situation, they felt they couldn't control those people's lives, and they did their best, but they still couldn't do it, and they felt like failures. So you're just kind of emphasizing the same feeling of failure, and they were more stressed out. So when they changed into saying, no more, we're not going to talk anymore how many patients we lost, right? We're not going to talk about how to make, you know, trying new medication or something. Instead of that, they were all meeting together in the group, and they were supporting each other and saying, we're doing such a good job because we're doing the best that we can. We are supporting those patients even in the last days, because there's family that are coming to see them, and the family that they grandchildren and their sisters, brothers, they want to come and say goodbyes to them. And we are supporting and we're giving that opportunity. And you know how important it is for us to say goodbye to our loved ones. And so when soon those doctors got into conversations that, you know, life is very stressful, our work is very stressful, we see those people dying, we always on the feet, there's so many patients, we cannot attend to everyone, but we're doing the best that we can, and we're helping those other families to get together and say goodbyes to those clients, to those patients. They left those groups of more uplifted because there was a purpose, there was a different purpose. So if you are stressing out in your life, or, you know, simple things like somebody says, oh, you know, you're just a mother who sits with kids at home, you know, what stress are you talking about? You know, you don't beat the traffic, you don't sit in the office, you don't even know what that means. There's a big responsibility. It looks like there's not much going on. There's a lot going on. I think mothers work 24/7. So even in that situation, you can say, oh my gosh, I'm a horrible mother, I forgot this, I couldn't do this, and I want to be there for my kids. But make this into a different one. Say, I'm doing the best that I can, you know, in any situation. I am helping to grow those children into healthy adults. This is your purpose. So rebrand, relabel everything in your life as a bigger purpose. You know, how is that going to influence in 5 years? It's going to influence those kids in 5 years, because if you're going to give yourself the best today, they will be so much happier and much healthier adults in the 5 years. So when you transfer the stress of thinking, I'm not enough, I'm not doing good enough, and especially if you came from a broken home, you feel like inadequate, and anything that you do is just not good enough. So instead of that, just transparent, say, I'm doing the best I can, and whatever I'm doing is going to have this impact rebranded into that's not impacting only your life, but other people's lives as well. Just kind of rise above it. And then your stress level changes, and then that is not going to be so impacting your body, and you won't get that sick because your body and your mental state looks at this total different way. It's kind of like when you clean, like you know somebody's coming to visit you stressed out and you clean and everything, but then the party was good and everybody ended up saying, oh my gosh, it was great. You go to bed, you're very, very tired, but you're thinking, man, I had a good time today. And that stress does not really, it's what is stress? Stress is anything that's outside of your normal. So there's the good stress and the bad stress. But when you label a lot of stress, you can change it into a good one. And of course, there's no way I can talk, this about time for me to kind of click off. But I will be talking more next week again. So if you have any questions, I'll be very happy that you submit. If you don't want to message right away in Facebook, you just can do a personal message to me, and I'll be very happy to answer it. So I hope you found this, my life, a little bit of wisdom that you can somehow got support. So if you have any questions, let me know, and I see you next week.